live inside the Beltway, joined in Israel by Dr. Michael Oren. It's easy for me to talk to Israelis during this period of time, but when I move to the afternoons, Dr. Oren, I hope you can move with me and stay up late. I am hoping you will explain for the audience, if you will. Netanyahu's on trial, and I don't know if it's a big deal or a little deal, or if it's a procedural, is it traffic court? What is it? How important is it, and how's it going?
And the answer to that is nobody knows. And I've been following this trial and these accusations for must be close to a decade now, and still can't make heads or tails of them definitively. Yesterday, of course, something very interesting happened. The judges basically threw out a huge portion of the prosecution's case in the most serious accusations against Netanyahu. That's a attempt to sort of accused attempt, allegedly, to manipulate the media, bribery, those most serious charges. And the judges say, hey, to the prosecution, your evidence just won't hold order. And the defending attorney stood up and said, hey, you don't have a case. You simply can't make your case. And that could well be it. That could be well it. Other people will say, hey, this is very serious. And Netanyahu, if he doesn't play his cards right, could end up in prison. Nobody knows. I think the major issue is here we have a country at war. Still on multiple fronts. Last night, 2:00 in the morning, we were woken up by an air raid siren as Israel was targeted by yet another ballistic missile from Yemen. 2:30 in the morning, we're running for our bomb shelter. And here we have a prime minister spending hours in court every day defending himself. The Supreme Court turned down his request to delay the proceedings, at least until after the war. Can you make heads or tails of this? Everything is sui generis.
Well, does Israel have the same presumption of innocence and the same high standard of beyond a reasonable doubt that America does, Dr. Oren?
It does. I mean, I think we have a world-class judicial system. What we don't have is, in many ways, institutions that are as transparent as you have in the United States. I'll give you a good example. The Academy Awards has nominated, one of the nominations for the best foreign films, documentaries of the year is a film about the Netanyahus that was produced in Canada. It is not allowed to be shown in Israel, believe it or not. Why is it not allowed to be shown? It contains footage of 2.5 hours of police interrogation of the Netanyahu family and interrogations related to these cases. Now, that means somebody in the police leaked 2.5 hours of classified interrogations of the Netanyahu family. It was made into a film, and now that film could get an Academy Award. Now, in any other country, I'm not an expert, I'm not a jurist, but that would result in an immediate mistrial, and that would result in a major investigation of the police, how this happened, why there was this leak. And in Israel, not even a whimper.
I think it's nuts that you're at war, especially when you've got al-Nusra taking over Damascus. And to me, this is the real issue is, do you have any feel for whether or not Jelani is just a jihadi with a better beard, or is he actually a stable figure for Syria? Do you have any idea yet?
I think I hope he is, but let's say I think a stable figure for Israel is a large sort of oxymoron. And I think that Syria, it was a country created by the Europeans to serve European interests. It sort of cobbled together various ethnic, religious, and tribal groups into this sort of morass. And every time there is an absence of very central, brutal power, it begins to unravel. And if Jelani, the only way, he's not going to be able to, I don't think he's going to be able to conciliate all these disparate factions within Syria without exerting tremendous amounts of force and being, again, a very brutal leader indeed. If he's not going to do that, then Syria will begin to sort of dissipate. And there are already Druze villages that want to be part of Israel. There are Christians who want to be part of Lebanon. There are Kurds who want to be part of Turkey. There are other Kurds who want to be independent. I don't hear a lot of people saying, I want to be Syrian, really. And even this notion of an Alawite independent state around the port of Latakia.
Did the Russians leave? Did the Russians skedaddle?
Yeah, the Russians really weren't there that much. There was only about 1,000 Russian troops there, and seven planes is what they had left, 7 operational planes. So it wasn't very much to skedaddle. And there are a lot of reports in the news this week that the Iranians turned down Assad's request for asylum, and it was the Russians who gave it to them. And there's even a report today that Israel facilitated Assad's escape in return for a map showing where all his strategic arsenals were located.
Oh, all right. Now I want to close on this.
That's true. It's a great story if it is true.
But I really want to figure out.
Go ahead. Let's get a hoot for the Houthis.
When do we? I already covered the Houthis, and they're going to regret every missile they send at Israel. But when does this trial get over? I mean, the judge in charge of the trial must realize this is absurd. Only Israel could have their prime minister on trial during a seven-front war that it's winning.
Yeah, the flip side of that, we're very confident of ourselves, that we can actually afford to do this. And before the war, we could have this tremendous divisions over the judicial reform because we thought where we live. We thought somehow we lived in Sweden or in the Bay Area. We forgot that we live in the Middle East. Unfortunately, Hamas did not forget, not for a second.
Ambassador Michael Oren, good to check in with you. Hopefully this time next week, Benjamin Netanyahu will no longer be in the dock, and the Houthis will no longer be trying to fire missiles at Israel because the cost is too high.